going to do an insight video today, and I've woken up this morning thinking about like consciousness and creation, which seems to be like the sort of like this the stream of consciousness, the stream of energy and vibration of frequency that's coming through always at the moment. It's all around sort of like self mastery, which is around sort of like the understanding that you are creation, and creation is you, and that you are this frequency, this vibration, and that all reality is created through this consciousness. So it starts off with like the I am frequency, which is the first step to self mastery, but it's also the first step to like transformation, which is the fourth dimensional reality. I've talked about like dimensional reality in sort of like as being one reality, it's one frequency, and pure creation, pure consciousness is this. It very much connects to sort of like moving and shifting through different dimensional reality, even though none of them are separate. They can be experienced sort of like not separately, but be experienced as different vibrations of frequencies, even though they're part of the whole, the eternal moment. And I was thinking about things like this morning, thinking about practically sort of scrolling through my phone and looking at sort of like media and stuff like that this morning. It sort of like brought me to this sort of like this thought, or I was feeling like I was sort of like being directed to look at things like, so you look at like the councils like within sort of in your country, where you got your local councils and stuff like that, and all of that is like their 3D reality, their physical external reality. But it started to shift, and it started to bring in this sort of like awareness that that's not the council, that's not the collective that you're connected to. Your infinite self is beyond that. It's beyond this physical external world, that out there world, which is very much like 3D reality. The politics, all that kind of thing that's going on, that's a 3D reality. It's a physical reality. It's a different kind of consciousness, where it sees, you start seeing the world externally out there, things like councils, politics, stuff like that, that's affecting you. But that's a 3D reality, and it's not the true reality. When you start shifting into fourth dimensional reality, you start to understand about transformation, and you understand that everything is transformed through consciousness, and consciousness is creation, and it's the pure vibration and frequency that all beings can access. When you start shifting into your infinite self and your soul, you start to realize that you're beyond that. You're a vibration, a frequency of creation, that you are your own sort of like you are your own creation. You are your own creative vibration and frequency. And this is where you start to get into the fifth dimension, where you start to see the energetic reality of the sort of, again, I talk about like Saint Germain talks about transmutation and this transformation, which is like the master wisdom, or like one of the ascended masters. And transmutation talks about different states of being, and different states of being are just different states of consciousness. And the more that we awaken, the more we become aware, we understand that our state of consciousness, our state of being, is always available to us, and we can transform and transmute things at any time, just through consciousness, just through the infinite vibration, the infinite frequency of the eternal moment. And it's the understanding that you are the creator, and creation is you, and that everything that's happening is just connected and aligned with your consciousness. Whatever your consciousness is whatever your reality is. So this is why consciousness is really, really important, because consciousness, again, I've talked about consciousness in this way before, where we talk about like within the infinite realms and the infinite dimensions, all things are consciousness and all things are creation. There is just consciousness and creation. They are the two sort of like things that work in perfect union, and they bring reality experience. So beings that live in different dimensions and realities are just in a different state of consciousness, but it's still the same consciousness, because we're all connected to creation, and we're all connected to consciousness. We are not separate, and this is one of the things that they keep talking about, is like non-separation, knowing that you walk with these beings, because you are those beings and those beings are you. It's just that we're in different states of consciousness, and when we're in different states of consciousness, we're just in different states of reality, but they're not separate. They're all part of the whole, they're all part of the same. So what they were talking about with councils is like, there's collectives, there's councils within the infinite realms that are working with us to bring wisdom and understanding. And as we start to awaken, or start to become aware of consciousness and creation, then we start to live beyond that physical 3D reality. That physical 3D reality, a lot of beings are connected to that, with everyday stuff, when you're worrying about bills, money, what the councils are going to do, what politics are going. But that's all sort of like 3D reality out there. It's not your true essence. It's not your true vibration and frequency. It's not your true creation. And it's about the awakening. It's about the understanding. It's about the awareness of awakening to that you're beyond that. And that's just like stuff that's happening out there, but it's not creating your reality. It's not your consciousness. It's not your vibration. It's not your frequency. It's not the essence of who you are. It's just out there. It's just a 3D. It's just a vibration, a frequency. And if we choose to live our lives seeing that out there-ness, and see that sort of like those things that are going on in politics and councils and money and the fact, the cost of living, all that kind of stuff. If we live in that vibration, then we're connected to that vibration, and that's our reality. And that reality only brings limitation. It only brings sort of worry. It only brings concern. So, they were saying in that sense, that you're connected to a different council, which is an infinite council. A council of beings that work with us to bring consciousness, bring awareness, bring wisdom to this time, this age, for us to awaken and live consciously and live as creators. And again, this is that shifting again. That's that shifting into that third, from that third to the fourth dimension, to the fifth dimension, to the sixth dimension. The fifth dimension is very much around sort of, again, about creation and about heaven on earth and about living in vibration and living in source energy. And it's the understanding that you are a vibrating being of this infinite frequency of consciousness and creation, and there's always that infinite potential is always available in the eternal now. It's not even the eternal now, it's the eternal moment. To the eternal moment, to me, is like it's an infinite vibration that is always vibrating, is always accessible, and is always available at any time. And all we have to do is consciously sort of connect to it, and we can do that just by sitting within our energy and feeling that vibration, that frequency, and stop thinking with the mind and just start feeling with your vibration, your essence, your frequency, and live in that frequency. If you create space and expansiveness within your vibration, then what happens is everything slows down, everything becomes quiet, and this infinite space starts to align. And within that infinite space of alignment, you access your infinite self and your soul, and then you start to access these higher, not higher, but these infinite consciousness, these infinite vibrations of frequencies that other beings are actually sort of like connected to, unified, like aligned with. And then what happens is then you start to become aligned with them. So you start to then access your infinite wisdom, your infinite consciousness within your infinite self and your soul. And what happens is then you become part of pure creation and pure consciousness. But that expansion then allows you to vibrate and align within that space. And this is what I call, when I've had many experiences of this, of bliss. Bliss to me is this expansive space where there's only like this vibration, this frequency. There's no tomorrow, there's no future, there's no nothing. There's just this eternal moment where things vibrate, and in this expansive space, everything is possible. And all things are, there's infinite potential, and everything is possible. And this is also where you align with your infinite self and your infinite vibration. And this is also where you align with the collectives, the councils, the guides, the angels, the archangels, all beings. And this is what they were trying to say to me, is that you're connected to a different kind of council, a council of infinite consciousness and infinite creation, and these infinite wisdom from these different dimensions, these different realms. And what you need to do is don't see the out there council, but just see this space within you that you can always access this infinite wisdom that you can then integrate within your consciousness, within your creation, within your reality. And you don't have to live that out there life, that out there frequency. You live this within this frequency, this bliss frequency, this bliss vibration. And this is what this time and age is about, and this is the shifting. But then it goes from the fifth dimension to the sixth, and I define it as the sixth dimension because it's we are creation and we are creators. The creative vibration is just the sixth dimension to me. This is what I feel like, you know, that I'm being guided to talk about. And you know that you are a creator, that you are creation, you are pure consciousness, and you can always access this, and you can live from this. It's living from sort of like your center, your vibration, your frequency, your essence, and it's not living in the mind, but it's living in the spirit, in the energy, in the vibration, the frequency. And this is what they're talking about to me. And it's and a lot of us are starting to access this frequency, this vibration, and as we do this, we shift and change our consciousness, and we access pure creation, and we also access true reality, pure reality. And this is what's going on for many of us, and this is the source living and sort of source expression, and this is what many of us are starting to align with now. We're starting to see the out there world isn't really the true reality. It's this true vibration, this frequency, this infinite vibration frequency that's within our source energy, our center, and that's where our true sort of expression comes from. That's where we truly express, and this is where we connect to our souls and our infinite self. The soul is like a vessel that brings in a multi-dimensional experience and a multi-dimensional frequencies and vibrations, and that's the idea of awakening to the soul. Is the soul, it allows you to know that there's an infinite vibrations, infinite frequencies, infinite consciousness, and pure creation. And this is your essence, and the soul is here. And the purpose of the soul is to bring this experience into reality and to awaken to it and express it and walk as it, walk as the soul, walk in this soul vibration, this soul frequency. I've always had a lot of sort of like thoughts and feelings about like karma and things like that, and how consciousness links in with that. You know, a lot of us talk about karma and talk about reincarnation, and we're coming down here for a purpose. Well, the soul's purpose is to live within that, express within that pure creation, that pure frequency. So there's a lot of things that I used to sort of like align with within spiritual philosophy and stuff that don't really align and integrate now. And this is how I know that some things are shifting within my own consciousness and my own frequency, because my reality and how I express reality and see reality is very different to how I used to. You know, when you start sort of like living within pure creation and pure consciousness, you realize that there's always infinite potential there. There's always things that are there to be aligned with, that can be expressed to shift and change your reality, and to create in a different way. You know, consciousness is all reality and all creation. So creation and consciousness are one, and they work in perfect union and pure union. So, you know, that's the insight for today. It's more about sort of like about consciousness, and it's about realizing, you know, that we shift through different dimensional experiences, and it's available. But a lot of us are moving and expressing to new dimensional realities and infinite dimensional realities, and the key is consciousness and creation. So always remain conscious, always access your infinite vibration within you, and live consciously, and know that you are a creator and you are creation. Creation works through you and as you. So that's the insight for today. Have a great day. Please subscribe, comment, like, share. Comments would be great, because any kind of questions, we can work and try and answer those, and give you some sort of insight. Because obviously working together is more of a sort of a unified sort of thing. This is where we start to shift into, as I said, with the sixth dimension sort of reality and expression. It's we are creators, we are one, we are infinite. You know, it's this kind of we, because when you start off with self-mastery, it's the I, but when you start to step into the sixth dimension, it's a we. And this is what the collective and councils talk about. It's one vibration, one frequency. There is no separation. It's just we work with them, as them, and they work through us, as us. You know, linking in, connecting in. You know, they work through us, for us. You know, and we are like we are them and they are us. It's just this shifting in consciousness, the understanding. Just because you're in a physical body, it doesn't mean you're not consciously sort of like connected to these infinite beings. You are still the same energy, the same light as these beings. It's just that you're in a physical form, and this is why you chose, you know, the soul come down here for this reason, is to express and shift and change the consciousness of this planet, and bring creation in, and bring in that creator aspect, that creator vibration. Have a great day.